like I said, I am here in Colorado, so we've got really, it's warm weather and stuff, but it's like really windy. It's like really, like you walk outside and you pretty much are blown down the block. So it's crazy, crazy weather this last couple months. So we are definitely plant-based and we don't cook with any oil. So the three things I always cook with are, if I'm going to saute, and you'll see one today, which is vegetable broth or stock. I do water or white wine. White wine only pretty much in tomato sauces. So I have, if you buy it, just buy it in like the Franzia in a box. And then that way you can have it and use it. You don't need to buy something that's expensive when you're doing that. So today we're actually going to make a gnocchi based casserole. So we're going to have I actually have you'll see back here, an iron skillet. So once I get everything kind of sauteed up, that way I'm not turned away around that way, because this induction burner doesn't like the cast iron. So I'll do everything here like the sauteing, and then I'll put it together in the cast iron and put that in the oven. So that way you'll get to see that, but you don't have to do cast iron. Like I said on the recipes, you can do like a baking dish, whatever you've got that you want to do, or if you even have some pans that are, that are up to 500 degrees in the oven, but of course you don't need 350, then you could actually put that in the oven too. So I just I never get to use my cast iron very much. So that's why I grabbed one that I have out of the storage and ready to go. So that's going to have like a bechamel, and then it's going to have a cashew cheese. So very creamy, cheesy. And one of the things that I was telling Lori before everybody else got on and stuff, that the cashew cheese, if you have left over, because depending on, if you make it and you don't want as much in there as what the recipe calls for, put it in like a mason jar and just put it on a counter, like in a little bit of warm space. But make sure you put, don't screw the top really, really tight. Put some plastic wrap around it so it can kind of expand. It'll ferment, and then it expands, which is really nice. And then it becomes like even cheesier, and then it's really good like the next day on crackers or like dipping vegetables in. So, don't throw it back in the fridge. Just let it ferment a little bit more, and it'll be a great taste. And then we're going to do an Italian chopped salad. So anything that's like a chopped salad that's good and you got all kinds of different stuff in it, nothing better, right? So those are what we're going to do. So I'm going to let Jerry go ahead and introduce himself really quick, and then we're going to get cooking.
Welcome, everybody. Jerry Casados, a plant-based nutritionist for those first-timers who haven't met us. I have a private practice. I do plant-based nutrition counseling. I have a private practice that transition people to plant-based diets, or just need some help with their current diet. They're plant-based for weight loss or doing something wrong. We try to help with that. So yeah, we've been plant-based 15 years now. Did it for heart reasons of my own 15 years ago, and off all medications and doing well. So we just started to educate people, just help people get healthier with food. And food is medicine. That's what we've been told, right? So any questions? We got a chat window. Just throw them in there. We'll answer them. Kelley will be monitoring that too. But I'm just here to eat the food. So I'm good.
All right. So if you have the recipe with you, and following along. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get the shallots and the mushrooms and the garlic sauteing. So I'm going to let those kind of saute, and then I'll start going. So I'm going to switch around a little bit. I'll get like the bechamel and the cashew cheese and all those kind of things going too. So kind of moving around a little bit, but making sure that we meet all the things that we need to do. So shallots, if you don't have shallots, you could use like a red onion. So I would say that it says 2 large shallots if you're going to use red onion, because the red onions, like the one I had last night, they tend to be really potent. So I would say probably go like maybe a quarter of a red onion, or if you really like a lot of onions, then go ahead and you can do like the yellow onion or the white onion. So it just depends on, if it makes you cry, like even the shallots, which are usually really mild. Last night I was tearing up quite a bit with the shallots, which I was surprised. So I'm just going to add those in. And then I'm going to add the garlic, so minced garlic. So we're asking for 3 garlic cloves. So that's all minced out, ready to go. We always talk about, wouldn't it be nice to come home? And I know most of the time I'd say have everything prepared and ready to go. But even if you had everything just all sitting like this and it was all chopped up and it was just a matter of just dumping things into the pan and sauteing them up, that would be nice too. Get that on medium high. All right. And then we've got the vegetable broth in there already. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add sliced mushrooms, whatever mushrooms you want. So if you want like the baby portobellos, you want the large portobellos, these are the baby bellas. So we have those, but you can get, the white button. whatever you can find in the stores, because sometimes you'll go in and you can find tons of white buttons and not very many baby bellas, or exact opposite the next week. So whatever's your favorite. And then you could also mix and match if you wanted to too. Or if you don't like mushrooms, because I know some people don't, you could do something you could substitute, and you can put in like eggplant or like maybe zucchini. But be careful with the zucchini because it's a lot of water. So make sure it's really dry. But that would be another thing that you could replace with. Or you could, I mean, there's so many different things you can put. I'm not a big fan of mushrooms. I'm okay when they're mixed up into things, but to just eat a chunk of a mushroom, no way. It's a consistency thing. So what I'll be doing tonight definitely is making sure I'll be putting those on Jerry's plate so he can enjoy the mushrooms. All right. So then if I want to let's go ahead and get the cashew cheese. Let me grab my blender. Plug it in. This is a much loved blender. You can see that, as I do that, it has the top that got broke. So it was during one of the events we had, which then, because it was inside the blender and somebody didn't know it, so it cracked the side. But it's amazing. It's never leaked. So I'm going to have to start looking to replace it. But right now it still works. So I kind of leave it. All right. So cashew cheese. You've got, let's see, so I have that over here. So we have a half a cup of the actual cashew. So what I did is I just put them in a little container, and then you'll see I'm dripping the water out here, but I put them in the container and then I just let them soak overnight. So, everything is in the fridge because I cut up everything the night before. So just that. And then you want to keep the soaking water because that's always a good thing and it adds taste. So not too many cashews, but it's nice to be able to do. If you don't like cashews, you can always do almond cheese. You could do walnut cheese. You could do, pine nuts, whatever some of your favorite flavors are. So it doesn't have to be a cashew, and any nut, as long as you soak it and stuff, can actually be made into a cheese. And almond cheese, when you let it ferment too, is really good. So I'll just keep watching this, and I'll just keep adding just a little because I want it really soft. So I'm just going to keep adding a little bit of vegetable broth as we go. It tends to burn off pretty quick. So that's set. All right, so we got that. So we've got small clove of garlic, minced. And then you've got white miso paste. Just a little bit of that. Nice what about miso, as long as you keep that little kind of a paper covering that's on the top, kind of a wax paper, it actually will keep in your refrigerator for a long time. So you end up spending like $4.99, $5.99 for a tub of it. But as long as you keep that paper on, it keeps it nice and moist. And I've had it sometimes, I think, up to like probably 7-8 months. So it's an easy thing to keep in your fridge and to be able to make a lot of recipes with. Okay, nutritional yeast. So nutritional yeast is basically a lot of people say it tastes like, it looks like fish flakes. So it's bright yellow, kind of like actually kind of more of a smoky yellow. So yellow, and it looks like fish flakes and stuff, but it actually adds the flavor of cheese to anything that you're putting into. So you can buy nutritional yeast in all the different health food stores and pretty much in everywhere. So like Bragg's carries nutritional yeast in the regular grocery stores. So you can get it. It's great if you take it and put it on popcorn. So if you pop like air pop popcorn, a little bit of salt and pepper and nutritional yeast, really good. So that just gives you the nice color, but it also gives you the flavor of cheese that you want to have for that. And then you've got lemon juice. So I have just a little bit of lemon juice, and I just poured a bunch out because I need it quite a bit. So I'm going to do 1 tablespoon. And you need a little bit of the acid just to make sure that you get the really good flavor with the cheese. And then sea salt and black pepper. I'm going to I'll just do a little bit of black pepper, but sea salt, I keep the salt out of my recipes, and then I just put it on the table, and then you can have as much salt as you want. So put that to the side. And then we're going to blend this up here really quick. If it gets a little thick, feel free to add a little bit of water. So if you soaked your cashews in quite a bit of water, don't pour the water out, and then just kind of keep adding a little bit, because you're going to want something that's creamy but holds up. All right, just a little more vegetable broth as I'm watching it. And this is when I'm doing like this right here. That's how you caramelize onions. So if you had a bunch of onions in there, like the half moons, you could actually just keep doing this and add a little bit of vegetable broth, adding a little bit of water, adding a little bit of broth. and then just keep letting it cook, and then you'll eventually get caramelized onions. Not as fast, of course, as you would have if you have oil, but it works really well. Okay, so we got everything in here. And then, so seasoning to taste, that would be your salt or any other flavors that you want to add. So we're going to go ahead and blend. And then we're going to add the, so cornstarch or tapioca starch, either one of those two that you want to use. Let it go for a couple minutes, just for a minute or so, because you want to definitely make sure it's creamy. Because a lot of times if you don't blend it enough, you're going to get like almost like chunky cheese, and it's not as good. And that's what I'm saying. If it seems to blend up and it needs to be a little bit more moisture, you could do like the water, or you could do a little vegetable broth if you don't have any more of your soaking cashew sauce. What do I prefer, corn or tapioca? So if I use cornstarch, great question. What I'll do is I'll make sure that it's non-GMO, and then I'm okay with that. But if it's GMO and stuff, I tend to go to the tapioca or even potato starch. So I would say either one. Of course, your cornstarch is a lot cheaper in the stores, and it's also easier to get. So it really kind of depends on where you're at and how easy it is to get things. All right, so let me grab a spatula because I need to scrape. Forgot that earlier. You notice it'll get everywhere. And one of these, like I said, if you end up doing just, enough for this recipe, great. But if you really like the cheese and you want to have some cheese around, make it like a double or triple, and then put it in a jar to let it ferment. And you might want to, if you do like a double or triple, split it up, because you definitely want to make sure that when it ferments, it doesn't ferment over the plastic wrap, because maybe you tied the plastic wrap, but it doesn't ferment and go all over your countertops. All right, so let's see. Okay, that's pretty good. Now I'll just add a little bit, because you may not need as much. So it just depends on, like how much, like how, porous and how much water your cashews hold and all those type of things as to how much you need to be able to put for the tapioca or the cornstarch. So it's just enough to thicken it up, but it's not necessarily enough to make it clumpy yet. You can tell vegetable broth burns off really quick. So if you're doing things like I am and you're getting busy, add a little bit of water. So add some vegetable broth, but then add water. And then that will actually help the onions and stuff stay, but not necessarily burn so quick. All right, I'm going to pull this out. You just I will grab a dish underneath just so I can pull it out and show you. And I might, like when it's sitting here, I'll probably add just a little bit more flour and I'll stir it in versus the blender. Just kind of let it set a little bit. Not the easiest thing in the world to get out, but we will get all this out here, this cashew cheese. If you wanted to set up more, of course, you're going to add more of the cornstarch, and then you can also put it in the fridge, and that's another way and stuff that it'll set up. Or like I said, let it ferment for the next day. Nothing better though than if you do some kind of a Mary's crackers, and then you got the cashew cheese that's all fermented. It's really good. Trying to get as much out as I can. There you go, that's probably good enough. Otherwise I could be scraping there probably for the next half hour. All right, so I'm just going to add just a little bit more instead of having to clean it up out of the blender. All right, so this is going mushrooms. This is one of those small little boxes of mushrooms. So they were all, so just sliced them up. So that's about as many as I could get, which is really a nice amount. Okay, just add a little bit more vegetable broth. Don't add too much when you add your mushrooms in. Don't add too much vegetable broth. The reason why is your mushrooms have a lot of moisture. So they're going to actually put a lot of moisture in there. And if you put too much, then you're going to have to drain a lot of that off. Oops, as I throw one overboard. Okay, let that cook. Let me get the blender out of the way. So don't need that in our way. Just add a little bit more cornstarch. So you'll notice that it's starting to get pretty thick. It would be if I let it ferment for the day or let it set, it would be even thicker, but this is fine for just exactly what we're needing for the gnocchi. So I'm just going to let that set to the side here. Pull that off to the side since you don't need it. Okay, so the mushrooms going. So now I'm going to do the bechamel. Get that going. The mushrooms you don't need to do like all the way if you don't want to, because all of this stuff is going to go in the oven. So it's going to bake. So if you get the mushrooms too sauteed and they're really soft and then it gets even softer in there, no need. Just enough where they're actually sauteed, mixed in well with the onions, the shallots, and the garlic is really good. Okay. Put that off to the side. So it looks just like that. So you'll see that there's nice browning to it, but not so much where they're really, really soft. Just because, like I said, I'm going to put them in with the skillet and bake them. So these are all ready to go, and I'll set these off to the side. Bechamel. All right, so bechamel, you got 2 tablespoons of vegetable broth. So vegetable broth again. And eyeball it a little bit. And then you've got, 4 teaspoons of flour. So you could use chickpea flour, wheat flour, whatever you want to do. So I just have the regular flour here. And I think what I'll do is while I'm making I'll just use this. Actually, let me grab another whisk. We'll bring out the big whisk. So while this is heating up, and there's 2 ways you can do that. You can start adding a little bit of the flour because you're almost making like a roux. So you're adding the flour to the vegetable broth. And you can make sure it gets hot and just add a little bit of a time and make sure you're really whisking it up. Or what my mom used to do, she used to take a mason jar and she'd put the liquid in there and the flour, and she would just put the lid on it and just shake, shake, shake. And then she would add it in there. So that's another way to do it. But if you don't want to have to dirty a mason jar, this is the easy way to do it. So just kind of make sure you can start seeing some bubbles. Add a little bit, whisk, because the one thing you don't want, lumps. And it's going to start getting really thick. Take it off for a second. One thing you always hear about in the cooking shows is they always say that you got to make sure that you give the flour enough time to get mixed in there, because otherwise things taste like raw flour. Okay, so that's nice and thick. Okay, so if you're following along, so we've got it. So we're going to add in the almond milk. So we've got, actually I'm using soy milk because that's what we have in our house. Just a little bit, so add a little bit, whisk. That way you keep from getting the lumps. If you do end up getting lumps, little tip. If you end up getting lumps, rinse out your blender and put it in the blender and blend it up. That way it'll get rid of the lumps, especially when you're making like a bechamel. Not you're going to see that in any cookbook, but it does work. bad. Not too exciting, I know. I want to make sure I get everything mixed up. All right, let's add the rest. Okay, while that's going, then we've got the rest of the ingredients that we can go ahead and add. So we've got the white miso paste. All right, and then we've got, following along, 2 to 3 teaspoons, can't even talk, 2 to 3 teaspoons Dijon mustard. If you don't want, like, if you're not a big fan of Dijon, you can also, you know, substitute different types of mustard. So there's, you know, there's tons of mustards that are out there. If you wanted to add a little bit of horseradish, you could do that, which would be really good. Totally different flavor for the night, but that would be a really good recipe. I like anything with horseradish. Just mix up so I get the Dijon and the miso going. And you can already tell it's starting to thicken, and I'll show you here that in just a second. And then we've got, so nutritional yeast, so same thing, you're gonna add it for the cheese flavor, so I've got that in there. Give a quite little mix. Smells good, I can smell the Dijon mustard. I love Dijon. Now I smell a little bit of the cheese because that nutritional yeast smells really good. Okay, and then we've got fresh thyme or rosemary. So I'm using rosemary, and then I've got black pepper. Add that in for the flavoring. Another little mix. Make sure you get everything all mixed in. Sea salt, you can add that in here now. And then, of course, the last thing you want to do is you want to add your acid. Make sure you've got the, got to have all the umami, got to have all the flavors.
It was so bland. I'm fired up. I want them to be like, you know what? You
right, just a little bit. So I've got. And we actually said 1.5 tablespoons. There we go. And then, of course, just seasoning to taste. So you want to taste it, make sure. That's the only thing. And I always talk about, that's good. I always talk about in recipes, even with my recipes, because everybody has a different palate and everybody has different, you know, flavors and taste and things like that that we've all been raised with. So even when so if I say something like tablespoon of fresh thyme or rosemary leaves, start low. So go like with 1/8 teaspoon and then add in, because you can always add in different spices, but you can't take away. You may find it's like, I like thyme and I'm really good with thyme, but I'm not good with rosemary. So definitely try out and then kind of mark your recipes of what you like. And then that way, every time you make it, it's perfect. Just kind of whipping it up. If you want your bechamel, just bechamel's a nice creamy sauce, cheese sauce and stuff. But if you want it a little bit thicker, then of course you just add a little bit more flour, or you add a little bit of cornstarch or tapioca starch if you want. But of course, you know, you don't want to get it too thick because you're going to be baking it and it's going to thicken up there too. So let me pause that off so it quits beeping at me. Okay, let's show you. So there's the consistency. So it's thick and it's thicker than like milk and things like that, but it still is creamy enough and stuff that you're going to be able to, when you add it to the dish, you're going to be able to cover all your vegetables and everything else with it. So nice flavor, and it tastes like a cheese. That miso you can taste coming through, which is really nice, and the Dijon and the nutritional use. It's really good. You don't taste right now. I don't taste a lot of the rosemary. But I do taste a little bit of the black pepper. But you could do, like, if you didn't want to do the black pepper, you could do a white pepper. But actually, it's really good. It's gonna be great with like the broccoli and everything else in it. Let's put that down. All right, so we've got everything made up. So we want to get this started because I want to get this in the oven. So As I said, you don't need a cast iron, but this, because I haven't used my cast iron for a long time, I made sure that I could use it this time. So I got to transfer the sauce to the skillet. So this is here. I'm going to pour that in. Got to get, I'm going to use this bigger spoon because I want to make sure, I thought I had a cup, there we go. I want to get all the sauce out. Just do a little bit of soak in the dish. There we go. All right, that's ready to go. So we got, you just kind of following along and stuff. So I'm going to place the raw gnocchi. So I just bought, so this one's Delalo, and it's just potato gnocchi. So pretty much everything that's in it is potato puree, a little bit of wheat flour, and that's about it. So it's nice to be able to buy gnocchi. You can make your homemade gnocchi, and I make it all the time. But like with tomato sauce and stuff, but it's really nice to have if you want to do something quick and you want to just like take gnocchi and, you know, do it in some like a cheese sauce like this, or you want to put it with a tomato sauce, mix it up and then bake it again with the tomato sauce and then come back out and add more vegetables. What a great way to do it. Fast, easy. So just kind of separate them out. They're just like little, I guess, little dough balls of love. You can do sweet potato gnocchi. I mean, there's so many different types of gnocchi that you can do, but it is a process. I mean, if you're going to do gnocchi and stuff and you're going to make it, it's a process to do it and get everything all cooked up. But if you make a bunch of it, oh my gosh, there's nothing better. Kind of spread them around a little bit. And this one, because it says a 17 point, I think it's 17.5 ounce package. I think this one was 16 because that's what it comes. So it works just fine. Think about if you did this dish with sweet potato gnocchi, look how pretty it would be, the orange color. All right, a few more. So I want to get this in the oven and then we'll make the salad. Okay, so I'll have Jerry kind of turn the camera a little bit. So that's what it's starting to look like so far. All the gnocchi that's in there. You know, if you want to get, when we get the things in here, I'm going to give it just like a little quick stir. That way I get all the broccoli and everything else all within the cheese sauce. So I've got the cooked mushrooms. So those come over here. So the shallots, garlic, cooked mushrooms, all going in. Going to add a little bit more moisture to your dish. Just kind of spread them out. And you could actually leave it in layers if you wanted to do that too, because it would be really pretty when you're serving it. Are we still on camera? Okay, I lost here. I've lost camera here. So you just read me the question, be great. I sure could. Be happy to. It's like I said, it's a process, but it's a lot of fun. Once you get the hang of it, you can make a lot of gnocchi and you can freeze it too. So you could have it for a lot. Okay, so then we got raw broccoli. So I've got it all chopped up, just florets. And the good thing about it is that if you've got a big floret, just feel free to kind of cut it in half. I don't know if you guys have noticed too, but we've been noticing the broccoli is not as green and as pretty as you usually see. So I don't know if there's something going on in the food chain other than everything else that's going on with broccoli. If anybody knows, share. I'm putting lots of broccoli because we like broccoli. All right, so we got the broccoli in there, got that. So we're gonna chop with the cashew cream, but I'm gonna actually, so if you see it now, it's in layers. I'm gonna actually stir it up just a little bit, just because I want some of the cheese sauce and the broccoli to get in there. And you want to have this ooey gooey mess of bubbly cheese and goodness. And this is one too, even got the bechamel. You could have like a side, if somebody really likes tomato sauce or like the a pasta sauce, you could add a little bit of that in there too. It smells really good. So just, then that way I get everything kind of mixed together. So you'll get to see here in just a second, the mushrooms and the gnocchi You could add some roasted red peppers, you know, all kinds of different vegetables in here, which would be really good. Okay. All right, so put that to the side. Cashew cheese. Let me grab. So I'm just going to spread it. And I'm not going to mix that in, but that is completely up to you. I'm just going to let it kind of go. So almost like when you're doing, like, you know, back in the old days when we used to do the basil mozzarella pizza and they'd have just the clumps of the mozzarella. So more like that. Kind of push everything down so it's all even. A little bit more. If I have a big dish, I'm just going to use it all. And I'll have to make some more the next couple of days to maybe ferment. Perfect. All right, make sure we got everything on there. Okay, so we've got coarse breadcrumbs, so panko, giving a nice little kind of a crunch on the top. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. You can also get like the like spiced, you know, breadcrumbs or Italian breadcrumbs. Panko does come gluten-free, if you're looking for a gluten-free option. All right, and then we've got pine nuts. So if you don't want to use pine nuts are very expensive. So, but this is only a couple tablespoons. So one of the things that if you have pine nuts, one things you can do is if you buy, you know, like a bag of it and they're like $20 or something like that, freeze them. Keep them in the freezer and then just use them as you need them. But if you've never had pine nuts in a tomato sauce like spaghetti with broccoli, it's wonderful. Nice, creamy. And pine nuts make a really good brittle. So my dad made pine nut brittle one time, and it was like piñon nuts and pine nuts, great with like other than a peanut brittle. All right, so we got that in there. Make sure we got pine nuts and some more thyme. I'm not going to do the thyme. I'm going to add that because I've got enough in there right now. So there we go. Clean it up a little bit. There we go. Right now with everything on it, I'm going to put parchment paper and then I'm going to put aluminum foil so that the aluminum foil doesn't touch all the food, and I'm going to get it in the oven, and then we'll start making the salad. And then I have all kinds of pretty things to add. So oven 350. All right, get all this out of the way because I am a messy kid. All right, we got everything done. So the gnocchi, everything like that. I'm actually going to put some broccoli sprouts on top when it comes out. That way it actually just has, you know, some nice greens on there. You could do, you know, all kinds of different things. You could do chives, etc. We just have, you know, Jerry's really into the broccoli sprouts now on everything other than cereal, probably is about the only thing, but unless you did like a savory oatmeal, but likes it because they're really good. And Jerry, why do you eat them? Yeah. 10 times. So if you didn't hear Jerry, 10 times more antioxidants than regular broccoli. So you could eat these little sprouts on burgers and all kinds of different things and get all your nutrients. Good for the gut, good for everything else too. Good for microbiome. That's what Jerry just said when he shared on the other side of the camera. Okay, now salad, yum. Grab all the ingredients. Summer's coming up, patio time, salads, wonderful. So I just chopped up romaine lettuce. So the romaine's all ready to go here. So you didn't have to sit there and watch me chop. So I'm just gonna put that to the side right now. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put everything together. So dressing's gonna be first. So let me go ahead and get the dressing done. And the nice thing about that, you probably just saw me set that on the induction burner. Induction burner's not hot, so I don't have to worry about it at all doing any breakage or getting too hot. All right, so dressing. All right, so when I make sure, when did I put that? Okay, so we gotta get that going. All right. I'm gonna add. Okay. All right, so all of the dressing ingredients, if you're following along, so we got a little bit of vegetable broth. If you don't have vegetable broth, water works just as fine. Then you're gonna have white wine vinegar. So, where's my white wine vinegar? Huh. Oh, I know what I did. Okay, this is what I was looking for, but I forgot the color. So I didn't have any white wine vinegar. Did want to go to the store last night. So I actually did an apple vinegar. So you'll notice, you probably can't see in my cabinets, but I have a lot of different vinegars. So there's like, I probably have like 30 or 40. So I decided to go ahead and do the apple balsamic vinegar. So this is one you can find in the stores. I have ones that are like garlic vinegar and sesame vinegar and all kinds of different ones. But I thought I'd go ahead and do the apple, a little bit different flavor. So you could do a sesame. Sesame would be really good on this too. Be a little bit different, but very good. All right, you got the Dijon. Dijon in 3 different parts of the recipe. Nothing better. Okay, and then you've got agave. So if you don't want to use agave, you could do maple syrup. You could do like some of your monk fruit sweeteners. You could do a date paste. There's all kinds of any ways that you want to sweeten it. And you may want to taste it first before you even add any sweetness to it and just see if you like it without it. So if you like the vinegars and stuff, you don't need any sweetener then. And then we got sea salt and black pepper to taste, which I have in here. So I put black pepper. And then I also put oregano, basil, parsley, and garlic powder. So those are going to be the seasonings that are going to go in. Put those in right there. Then you just give it a quick whisk. And if you don't want like all the, like all the different herbs and stuff to really stand out in your dressing, one of the things you could do too is you could put it into the, the blender and just blend it up. So it's more of a creamy, smooth dressing, which is really good. Another thing that you could actually substitute into this too during the summer is oranges. So like orange juice, like you get fresh oranges and stuff, and a little bit of orange grated is really good. Okay, so put that to the side. Taste. That's like perfect. There's enough sweetener, enough of the, the apple vinegar and all those kind of things. And one of the things I'm going to make this, I actually went to visit my dad in Carthage, Missouri, which is outside of Joplin, which is an hour and a half from Springfield, kind of that area. And one of the things that they had, somebody had made homemade apple butter. So that's one thing I'm going to make this weekend is apple butter. And there has no butter in it. It's just apples and flavoring and stuff like that. So we're going to be making that for a fun thing for toast. Okay, so I had my big bowl. Oh, Kelly. All right, so let's add the lettuce. You could add anything you want, whatever's your favorite lettuce. I like romaine. I like it. And then sometimes, sometimes I'll do arugula and other flavors like that. But sometimes it's just nice to have that crunchy lettuce, which is romaine, which I really like. And it seems to be very plentiful in the stores too, not like everything else. Okay, so then you've got lettuce. So I've got that. So I've got the tomatoes. If you've got, since I cut them last night, I'm just going to check because I don't need the moisture. Those around. Any tomato, that you want. You could do the grape tomatoes, all those here. And then you've got cucumbers, which I will be putting those in Jerry's salad. I'm not a cucumber fan either. They don't like me. And I know everybody's like, well, use the different ones. They don't like me. All right. And then following along, I've got red onion. So red onion, like I said, very, very potent right now. And I don't know if it's just because they've been sitting, sitting in the on the trailers or what's going on, but cry last night. And I don't usually cry on onions, but this is one that made me cry. So I always just start out with, if I look at it and I say, okay, half of a small red onion, maybe you do just a quarter first, just to start out, because what you don't want to do is your red onion, and you can tell too, it's not really red. It's a really light purple. You want to make sure that it doesn't overpower your salad. And you can always not do red onion. And one of the things that you could add in too would be like green onions, type of thing. So you could change it up a little bit if you're not a big fan of red onions. I like them. They're pretty. But like I said, the color on them is not, sometimes they're really dark. These are really light purple, but make you cry. All right. So we got these little peppers, yellow peppers that we're going to put in there. So we're going to do that. Add those. And if you have one of the chopped mezzalunas, you could actually take this whole thing like this too and use the mezzaluna. I have one. I won't do it on this one, but if you do have it, you could actually do a true chop salad. Just go in there and start chopping away. All right, so we got the peppers, the yellow peppers. If you don't like those, leave them out. It's not a problem. And then black olives, but you could change out, you don't want black olives, you want different flavors or different kinds of olives. You could put the Kalamata because that's, definitely an Italian thing, whatever your heart desires. And then one of my favorites, garbanzo beans. Jerry used to hate garbanzo beans on salads. We used to go back in the days before being plant-based and stuff. We always go to this pizza place and they'd put garbanzo beans on it and he would flick them off. Now he loves them. It's one of his favorites. So, without even, let me just kind of stir it up a little bit. So without even doing much to the salad, look at that, just colors and you've got the red, the greens, the yellows, the kind of the lime, the kind of lime yellows with the black olives and stuff. How yummy. Nothing better than a fresh salad. Okay, so we have that all in there. So we can give it, quick toss and stuff. But, since I'm at home, I'm just going to use my hands a little bit, just get all that mixed in there. And one of the things when you get ready to put dressings on your salads, especially if you're at home and let's just say you're going to eat it all in one sitting, because this is not something you want to do if you're going to be like, well, I'm going to eat it over the next 2 or 3 days. You definitely don't want to put your dressing on it. But if you're going to put the dressing on it and serve it to the family, or you're going to a party or something like that, the best thing to do on any lettuce and any salad is to actually, when you put the dressing on, pour it on, and then get in there with your hands. And you could, if you're going to a party or something like that, you could wear the gloves and do all that. But get in there with your hands and then just kind of massage in the dressing, because it'll get all over the leaves and all over the vegetables. And especially if you have like kale or something like this in here, it helps you break that down. Let me do something real quick on my oven before I add that. I'm just going to make sure, because I want to make sure I'm getting everything. Okay, recycle that. Wash my hands just a little bit. So I'm going to wait just a little bit on this, just because I don't want to add too much of the dressing just yet. So I'll show you something else I made. So this is for dinner also, because I had a head of cauliflower, and you know how cauliflower is. It doesn't last that long in the refrigerator. So I think it was last class we did, what did we do? Like Thai burritos or something like that. And then I did I can't remember what we did, but like a miso flavored cauliflower. So kind of, I was like, well, miso, I got miso and all this type of stuff, and I didn't want the cauliflower to go bad. So I actually just soaked it last night. So it's got like miso, red pepper flakes, a little bit of soy sauce, water, and Dijon mustard, another one, the Dijon. So I just put that in there, and it has, like I said, the red pepper flakes. So there's a little bit of spice to it. So I'm going to put these in just for the last few minutes, because they've already been baking. I just want to heat them up. But I thought, what a great way. We got broccoli, cauliflower, gnocchi, salad. And if we don't eat it all tonight and that type of thing, then guess what lunch is tomorrow? So just warm that up. All right, well, I'll go ahead and do this because we'll get this going. Just watching my time. So I'll go ahead and dish this up. So what I do usually is I just pour on like maybe half the dressing, quarter to half of the dressing, and then get in there. Just kind of keep turning the lettuce, turning all the vegetables. Sometimes, like on that much dressing that I made, sometimes you'll use half, because it depends on the lettuce and how flavorful your dressing is. And you may find that you've got another half for a whole nother salad that you can put into a jar or something like that, or you can put it the next day. And then sometimes and stuff, you'll use all of it. And the way to try it is, the one thing that you want to taste in your salad is the lettuce, because that'll tell you how much dressing you have if it's good. All of it. Nice dressing. Very light, which is really nice. So definitely not a heavy dressing. Let me put that over there. Okay. All right, so I'm going to dish this up. Wash hand. Got lettuce everywhere. So I have this nice little dish. I don't use much. I usually, like if it's like Thanksgiving or something like that, then I'll put like sweet potatoes and mashed potatoes and those type of things in it. But I'm like, for as large as the salad is, I mean, you can keep it in the bowl just like this if you want to, but I thought for showing it, instead of having just a round bowl, different kind of plate. So I'm going to grab the lettuce and things on top first, because all the goodies usually soak to the bottom. That way, when I show it, we'll have all the pretty stuff on the top. And this is where I could add, if I wanted to add some broccoli sprouts to it, for decoration, I could do that. You could put in, put some lemons or limes on the side. There's all kinds of different things that you could do to add. Here comes a lot of the garbanzo beans, the black olives. Unfortunately, the cucumbers. Up there. Set that to the side. Clean up my mess. Okay. Another thing you could add, like you've got this already, another thing that you could add to this would be like slices of avocado on the top, or even diced avocado, which would be really good. So I think I'll add just a little bit because I've got enough. We eat a lot of salads, but now that it has broccoli sprouts on it, it'll probably everything. Jerry will scrape off the top. Okay, so Jerry wants to know what they taste like. Jerry says they taste peppery. To me, they taste a little more earthy. I would say that it tastes like the mix between eating like raw broccoli and raw cauliflower. So if you took a little piece of both, that's what it reminds me of. And so good flavor. If it's one of those things like microgreens and stuff, sometimes you have to get a little used to the actual flavors of that. But broccoli sprouts, good. I like them better than I like alfalfa sprouts. Okay, so I'm gonna go look at what's in the oven. But isn't that beautiful? Italian chopped salad. So like I said, if you want to use that little mezzaluna, you could and chop it up even more. So you could chop up your what am I trying to say? Your cucumbers and all those things even smaller. But I chopped them up pretty small anyway, so it definitely looks like like a chopped salad that you would get somewhere in a different restaurant. And that will not last through tomorrow. It will definitely be something that will finish up, if not half or more, tonight, just for dinner. Okay. Set that to the side. Let me check the oven. Smells really good. I'm going to grab the cauliflower. Doesn't need to sit out, doesn't need to stay too long, because like I said, it was already done. I just wanted to heat it up a little bit more. And that's all nice and bubbly. Oh, that looks good. Can pull that out here in a second. This one is, so it depends on your, like I said, so it depends on your oven of how long it cooks. This one's a gas oven, like all the gas and the flames and stuff are coming up from the bottom. It's new because it's a new house that we just moved into. So I'm only about a month and a half, so getting used to it. So you'll start seeing like cabinets change behind us and all those kind of things, but I'm still trying to figure it out because we had convection before. So it's a little bit different of making sure things don't burn and all those kind of things that happens to all of us. But so there you go for the miso cauliflower that we're going to have. So it's all nice and you get some of the browning and everything like that. Little spicy because of the red pepper flakes, but the miso flavoring with the soy sauce and everything, it's really, and it's actually tamari, low sodium tamari, really good. So this is all ready to go. Let me just put this off to the side so I'm not carrying it. All right. And then I am going to grab things a little cleaned up. What questions do you have while we're looking at things right now? Just want to give it a minute or two, just a little bit longer. But we're right at, oh my goodness. And one thing too is you want to watch it. So you want to get, like the gnocchi that's in there, you want to make sure you watch it and not where, you know, you get some browning and stuff on the, because the broccoli is going to brown really quick, but you don't want to have it too much where you start turning where I'm having a hard time talking today, where it doesn't get like burnt flavor. So definitely don't want that. So I'll put that there because that's going to come. I've got my broccoli sprouts. I have leftover broccoli. We're good with that. All right. Do what? Just about 2 more minutes. So Jerry's got a question about what's the difference between microgreens and sprouts. And what are you going to say? They're all good for you. Unbelievably good for you. It's just, I mean, the nutrients and things like that, but I don't know. It's a good question. I just started using sprouts not too long ago because we saw with Jerry saw all the different the nutrients that were really good for you and stuff in it. So we started using sprouts on everything. Yeah. All right. Okay, we're right at time. So we need to let me get everything out. And I am going to grab another hot pad just because when you get cast iron, they're heavy. So you just want to make sure you get a good hold on them. If you've got like a baking dish, a little bit different, but cast iron, easy to like tip it and then lose it all. So. Do this really quick. That way I can taste it so you can. Yes, the broccoli has some nice browning on it. Probably hard to see on the camera, but I've got some mushrooms that have got browned and all this type of thing. So. That's really good. Cheesy, very creamy. And the broccoli is going to be good because then you've got kind of that, you know, that al dente, real fresh ingredient. You've got the mushrooms, so you've got a little bit of the kind of the earthiness in there. Your potato gnocchi are really, really soft. And so they're just a really nice bite into there. And they're covered with cheese. So it's almost like eating a kind of an adult macaroni and cheese, which I'm all for if you're definitely into that. And then you get a little bit of the pine nuts. You get a little bit of that nuttiness that's in there. And then now the flavors are coming out a little bit more too. So you can taste a little bit more of the Dijon, a little bit more of the, you know, like the thyme or rosemary. So this is the rosemary. So you've got those flavors in there, which are melding really nice. And it's very beautiful. So let me tip it. Let me do this first, and then we will tip it. And I made just a little dent. So let me cover up the dent. See, it's perfect. All right, so easier to tip it. So let me do that real quick. Let me do that. There we go. So there you go. So there is the ooey gooey cheesy baked gnocchi dish. And like I said, if you like marinara sauces, you could add a little bit of marinara on the side too, and kind of do a little bit of drizzle, which would be luscious. It would give you almost like not really a vodka sauce, but a cheesy kind of a marinara sauce, which I would love too. So that's that with all the fresh vegetables and all the different flavors that we were just talking about. So there we got that. And then I showed you the miso cauliflower, and then Italian chopped salad. So there, including the cauliflower, is dinner tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys think this looks delicious. And Lori, I know you're making it. So let me know how it goes. Take a picture, put it up on the site. Would love to see it, how you're making it, and let us know what you think. So always love to hear if you substitute something in, add more vegetables, all those type of things. Would love to see it. So thank you guys. Put this down. Love you. See you in 2 weeks, and 2 weeks heroes, which are with jackfruit. So if you've never used jackfruit, you'll definitely want to join us. It is one of the most delicious dishes out there. When I make them, I make 20 or 30 of them, and we take them over to like Jerry's daughter's house and stuff, and they are gone. They are delicious and pretty. So see you in 2. All right. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Enjoy.